probably 10:30 or 11 o'clock, we had a couple stop in.
This couple comes in and they're wet and they're just looking around and
sort of deer in the headlights look.
They said, we just tried to get up 7. We're trying to go to Allen's Park.
And they're saying, well, there's a huge landslide.
And the road is out. The road is gone on one side.
I didn't quite want to believe it at the time, but some of the other people there were saying, this is a little out of the ordinary. Something's up.
Then right around 12:30, it was just rapid, one emergency vehicle after the next, rolling up 36.
Maybe 10 or 15 emergency trucks just flying up Highway 36.
I don't even think at that point we had really thought about flood. I'm thinking landslide and just torrential downpour.
It sounded like it was windy outside, and it's the sound of the river, which is normally 150 yards from the house.
And then we hear the siren.
She woke me up because the sirens were going off. I'm in that half-dream state. Nothing really makes sense, and I hear this voice that's the siren going off, and of course you can't really hear it.
So you can't really hear it. So I'm stressing. I don't know what they're saying.
Finally, the guy's voice made sense, and it was very calm recording, and it just said,
seek higher ground immediately.
Flooding is imminent.
Flooding is imminent.
I remember being half asleep and sitting there thinking.
And in my head, I'm like, I think imminent means it's really going to happen, but let me just Google, make sure.
And I couldn't really think of, I was like, well, what is imminent?
Because does imminent mean there's a chance it might not?
That means it's definitely going to happen, right? I'm looking across and down on the highway. They had just started to actually evacuate people. So I see these just lines of cars flying down the highway going back towards Lyons.
I have a friend who's on the fire department in Lyons. I texted him. I said, hey, do I need to go? And he just said, I wouldn't worry about it. You're up high enough. It's going to be fine. Don't sweat it. Don't stress. Get a good night's sleep.
In my head, I'm like, well, I'm going to do the math here. We're 150 yards away from the river and a good 20 feet higher than the river. So there's no way it's going to come over here. And so I went back to sleep, and then finally I woke up and I heard nothing, not a sound, no cars, the siren stopped. And I'm thinking, oh, well, I guess it's over, siren stopped. And I get back up about an hour later, which is at this point maybe 5 o'clock in the morning, and all I could see was about half of Highway 36. The river extended and come all the way out, probably about 100 yards or so. And I couldn't even fathom that was still connected to the original river. I thought that maybe the gutter on the side of the road was somehow filled with water. I remember looking out at, one of the reflectors on the side of the road. I know that reflector is at least 5 or 6 feet off the ground. So there's at least 4 feet of water coming over the highway right now. So that marker became my new, checkpoint. I was like, well, if it gets to the reflector, then we need to really worry. But right now, it's halfway up, so we're okay for now. It's impossible to really imagine what you would have woken up to the next morning.
And the next morning, my boyfriend stands up and looks outside, and I just see his face go white and his jaw drops. And I stood up, and the river was just flowing in front of our house. It looked like we were actually moving. It was kind of an optical illusion because it was just water.
He says, I love you. Watery sight falls rain on down through places of their life, right through their home. All the things they had known tells them I love you. Let's go.
As we went to bed, we noticed that the river was as high as it had ever been in the spring. So we kept an eye on it until it started coming into our lower level of the building. And then we decided we better get our cars out of here and get ready to evacuate. We have property on both sides of the river and a walk bridge that goes across. This is 7-8 feet above the water normally. And we got over there and we're getting the truck, and we had the lights on into the river. And a cottonwood tree, mongo, big full cottonwood tree with branches came floating down the river at about 30 miles an hour. And like an express train hitting a school bus, the bridge just evaporated and went downstream with almost in silence because the background noise was so high. Just poof, gone. So Sally said, well, let's get some of the neighbors woken up. So we went out and started pounding on doors, and by 2 a.m, you could no longer drive on Apple Valley Road without some kind of aqueous vehicle. And that was the end of being here.
Winter go quietly, don't stay so long, with no shelter to keep me, no home of my own. Wonder now how the seeds come grown. She tells them I love you. Let's go. Ooh.
Everybody rallied to the cause, whether it was checking to see if their neighbors and their neighbor's neighbor and their neighbor's neighbor were fine and where they were, if they needed help. The Fifth Street Bridge was one of the bridges that survived because we had Steve McCain, who has a backhoe. He got his backhoe, and from the minute the flood happened, he went out there and started getting big rocks and bracing the bridge from underneath.
He worked all Wednesday night into Thursday. So Wednesday night, in the dark, in the rain, in direct opposition to orders from CDOT to stop throwing rock from Meadow Park in front of the bridge, and he's the one who saved that bridge. He just, when CDOT told him to stand down, he just said, no can do,
Because the water had come up maybe 13, 15 feet and was going over the bridge and pushing it out and pushing the foundation from underneath. And at this point, we have already lost our 2nd Street Bridge and some of the other ones. So we had become like 6 different islands from each other.
And as it turned out, that proved to be for the people over by the high school, who was also an island because they lost both of their bridges. So it also provided a way in for those people.
He saved it. He worked 2-3 days straight, just doing everything from bracing the bridge up with his backhoe to finding people who were stranded and carrying them and their families and their dogs on the backhoe across this, across the bridge.
After all that has gone, 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 picked up and moved on, what is left of them? And you shining bright